Okay, we are live with a special Forrest Fenn Treasure Found because today there was a motion. The government tried to intervene, and Cape Rose at an undisclosed location, and our special guest Goldilocks is also at a undisclosed location, and we're going to talk about it. So, hello, you two. How are you?
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, we're good. This isn't going to be super professional. I do have a PowerPoint, but I didn't even have time to look it over because I just wanted to get as much out. I am going to not be available for a little bit. I will say we're going to go over our summary thoughts and notes and potentially what's coming next. But Toby has indicated he's actually gotten a transcript, or he's transcribing it right now. So he'll go over, if you are interested, word for word what happened. I know a lot of you just like the soundbite version. I'm hoping this is maybe a half an hour, but definitely won't be over an hour and discussing it. If you guys don't know Goldilocks, Goldilocks is the one that puts all legal stuff and kind of helps us. I think more than a layman's, but not an official lawyer kind of thing. No. So you introduced yourself.
I'm Goldilocks. Yep. No locks of gold. So, yeah, I mean, no, I am a layman completely. I don't have a degree in law. I don't study law. I just became interested in it with this hunt, basically, when it wrapped up. So that's how I got involved with the law piece of it. It was just an interest of mine. So, yeah.
Okay, so as you can tell, I know some of you are already saying bad connection. I noticed. So yeah. Mike is going to lead the show, and you guys can talk, and I will try to only jump in if it's something that I see totally differently. So, Mike, over to you, sir.
Okay, so of course, in the couple hours since the motion this morning was the hearing, I should say, on the motion, Cape Rose made a PowerPoint. So we're going to go right to the PowerPoint to give you guys some tidbits of what went down. And again, like she said on Toby's show tonight, message and methods and messages, right? Isn't that what it is? Their new YouTube channel. They're going to go over it, I think, word for word, if anyone wants to check it out. So this morning, it was the judge. It was Kimberly Bell, who's a New Mexico attorney, right? I hope I have that right. Sommer, who is the attorney for the Fenn estate, and then Mr. McCracken himself was there. This was conducted over Zoom. The position, the government is not involved in the probate case. They don't care about who owns the treasure chest. They're not even concerned about who wins the case. They just want to seek to prevent the location from Mr. Stoof from disclosing the location and clues as it was found on public land. Public land in 2020. The area is not designated to accommodate high traffic. This was their argument. The judge basically let them argue why they should be allowed to intervene in the case. Okay. And they went through the whole rigmarole of what they said before, which was in their motion that we've studied last Monday. It's public land. It's not designated to accommodate high traffic. Vegetation and animal species could be compromised and or damaged. Concerns of traffic in the area. There are not theoretical issues. They did mention YouTube. They did talk about this information was on YouTube, which I thought was interesting. They did not mention any channels specifically, but the lawyer for the government did mention YouTube. And they said the jurisdiction is appropriate due to Jack being disposed in this court. I got all that right?
Deposed. I'm sorry, deposed. He's not being disposed of.
Oh,
I'm
deposed.
Sorry. There's going to be a typo here. I apologize.
Deposed.
So before we move on, Goldilocks, did you, at that first part, did you see anything different or hear anything different? Or
no. Well, when the government spoke, so the judge introduced, I guess, everybody. But when the government spoke, first of all, she referred to it as real property. They're interested in the real property, nothing to do with the chest. But she said, and I kind of quote it, the government is not taking a position on who found it or where it was purportedly found to be found. So she really, I think she spoke in generalities. Like she, I don't know. I don't think she has a ton of information really. And I don't even know if her information is accurate, what she has.
That's the most shocking. I don't think she knows about the case.
It didn't. And she said that. Do you remember in the very beginning, she said she doesn't have information on the hunt. All she knows is that Jack was going to be deposed. The location might come out. She said she hasn't followed it, but then she mentioned YouTube. So I don't know.
Yeah, and that'll become important later. Okay, so this part is basically government is saying we have a right to intervene, we want to intervene, we're setting the stage. Now everybody else gets to argue. Mike, next slide.
Okay, and the judge's response was, can't see the claim. It is not the justification. It should be jurisdiction, right? Not the jurisdiction of federal law. It would result in an undue delay. So for this probate case, which the judge is trying to get through, he's saying if he allows the government to intervene in this case, it's going to cause an undue delay. I think that was his biggest one.
Yeah, well, and the piece, and I'm sorry if it stutters, the piece was, you're asking for me to intervene when you don't have a motion for a protective order. What you should have done is gone to the federal government. They interpret your laws under supra. Then they grant that. Then you hand it to me to say, in your probate case in the state that we're in New Mexico, just stop him from talking about what a judge has already interpreted in another jurisdiction. So the judge is saying, you're not in the right jurisdiction. Why didn't you do that first? So he's kind of giving her, this is the reason I'm going to rule against you. Can you talk through this? So that sentence is all garbled and wrong.
Yeah, and he also said how the government has remedies for all of this in place already. So
he's like, you have your own federal systems to take care of national parks, or I should say public land. He's saying you already have ways to take care of your own public land. Why are you, why would you intervene in this case? Exactly. And that's interesting. He said the location's already known. The horse is already out of the barn. He said, due to Forrest Fenn's poem, the location's already known. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he doesn't understand.
He didn't say 9 Mile Hole, but
no, he didn't.
Just kidding.
Yeah. And then they haven't provided a basis for a protective order, as that is a civil procedure matter to seal the information.
And at this point, I feel like the judge sort of already made his decision, don't you? Because he sort of said, like, he sees a number of problems, like, right off the bat. I feel like McCracken didn't even have to open his mouth.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it would have been probably better if he didn't. But I think at this point, it was like, are you seeing something I'm not? I haven't seen these cases before, and I was in and out of this one. So I could say on this one, I thought, he's basically saying, here's the 3 reasons, overcome them or you're done.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he said, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
And then the Kim Bell, lawyer for the government, her response was timing. April 4th, 2022 was the first time she was made aware, or the government was made aware of the deposition and was not alerted beforehand. Does not have an interest of the property in the probate hearing. The government does not have an interest in the treasure chest, but the property of the intellectual property that will be asked. And they even said, we don't even have an interest in the intellectual property. It's just the location. It's just the real property at the location. We have a duty to protect it. She wanted to make that clear. The location is not certain, only speculative at this time. She does not believe the location spot is needed to settle the probate questions. And she asked the judge if they can put in a motion for protection with federal government by the end of the week. I must have missed that part because I didn't see that.
Yeah, she said, this is how I heard it, Goldilocks, you tell me. She said, I can put that motion for protection in with the federal government by the end of the week. And then, and then I could get it to you. I can, basically do what you're saying in the correct jurisdiction and bring it to you. But she would file it by the end of the week and it would delay things. And I think that's how he responds. Is that what you heard?
Yeah. At the end, she addressed it more and she just said she didn't think it would be efficient or necessary. So it sounds like she wasn't even going to go that route. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, Finn's response was, I know it wasn't timely, but I just discovered this and it took me a week or 2 to get this to you. But it wasn't last August. And again, they don't really want to get involved in anything else, but they just want to gag order Jack on a couple of very narrow issues. That's what she just kept saying. This isn't for anything else. It's only a couple of issues.
The location.
The location and the 9 clues.
And then Carl Sommer had his turn to speak, who is the attorney for the Forrest Fenn estate. And he said the estate shares the concerns to reveal the specific location. And in other words, the estate is in agreement with the government's motion to intervene. Now, he did say he did misspeak and say that there was an affidavit to the government. It was found in 2006. So that obviously was a mistake.
I think it was June 6th, 2019. I think the 6 got moved.
Yeah, he said 2006, which is wrong.
Yeah, obviously. I think he was just,
He did bring up the Supra, the he says it applies, and he used the words "in the park where it was discovered." He said actually, I thought I had the exact wording. Hang on. Do you have the exact wording, Goldilocks, of what he said? Because this is the most important part, in my opinion.
The Supra, I don't.
Oh, no, about the park, when he mentioned the park. Yeah, I've got it. Let me look it up.
No, I don't have the exact words.
This was Carl Sumner's exact words. The park, the national park that we are talking about, is defined as a system unit resource, and the estate has done everything it can to protect every portion of disclosure of any location in the park. So the attorney for the estate of Forrest Fenn, who knows the location, said the national park that we are talking about is defined as a system unit resource. So for anybody who does not believe it was in a national park, this proves otherwise, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then, the attorney for the estate said it's much like going into court trying to get Coke's recipe. It's much like, he made a pretty good analogy. He said it's like going into court saying, "Hey, Coke stole my recipe for soda, so you've got to give me what the recipe is for that Coca-Cola uses to make their soda." Which, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I like that analogy, because then once they have it, they have it.
Mm.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then he mentioned a few points of McCracken's case about, and he wanted to get it all in. Well, he thinks he's alive, and he thinks it was found in New Mexico, and so he kind of got all his points in to the judge.
And then it goes back to the judge, and basically the judge ruled and says jurisdiction. The federal government has their own remedies in their own courts to handle this. He has nothing to allow this to be sealed, but it really wasn't sealed. It was a motion to intervene. In other words, the government
but to seal certain things from being said. But he's like, I don't have a protective order in front of me. I have a motion to intervene. So he kept. Now we still have a little bit more that's coming up.
But they had to get right. But they had to get the motion to intervene in order to put in the protective order.
Typically, you do it backwards. You get your protection order, and then any court it comes into, that is protected. You just hand it to every court. If it's probate court, if it was any of the other court cases. They didn't have time to do that, they said, because they just became aware of this deposition.
And one other thing Carl said was that he wants it to be over and he wants it to go to trial. So that was clear. There's no settling.
Yeah, they just want it over. Yeah, for sure. The other 2 points by Carl Sommer was there are federal remedies, but that is only after the damage is done. In other words, Yellowstone National Park can clean up whatever damage is done, but that's after it happens. And they were trying to prevent it from happening. And he also said they must take due care, and the estate intends on taking due care to not disclose the location.
So I know Toby's position, at least a couple days ago or yesterday, whenever it was they're just using the Supra hypothetically. They're not saying that they actually have to use the Supra. I believe they have used the Supra and saying we have to do what the Supra says because the Supra applies. And they said national park because a national park applies. Now that's just, I don't think they're saying hypothetically, Judge, it was really on a different type of land, but we're just pretending here. I think they're actually saying it. I don't know how many more different ways they can. But
well, there's some people that'll never believe it, even if Jack comes out and says it, even if Forrest were to come out and say it. Those people are never going to believe it. For most reasonable people, I think they're starting to understand that it was in Yellowstone National Park, which is why we are where we are today with all this legal stuff. And then McCracken had his time to speak. He basically said it was prejudicial, that he needs a solution for his case. The judge stopped him and said, basically, the case is, it's not about the case. It's not about him proving his case. He can't use that to argue why the government should not be allowed to intervene. Federal land and Supra is speculative. It's untimely. Irreparable harm and permanent damage of land is needing to be shown. 9 Mile Hole in Yellowstone has no impact. McCracken did mention 9 Mile Hole. He said 9 Mile Hole is in Yellowstone, has had no impact thus far, and searchers have gone there to search.
Now, someone actually sent me that was in the hearing that said, I heard him say, I know Jack's position is 9 Mile Hole. I'd like to see the transcript tonight. That's not what I had in my notes. That would be, what did you have in your notes, Goldilocks?
I didn't have that. No.
Yeah, I'm not sure which way.
Okay, we'll be able to clarify, but I don't think he said it. Jack said it was at 9 Mile. I think what he said is,
I think he
a
was
lot
using.
of people think 9 Mile Hole. It's an example.
Yeah, it's an example. It's just an example. This is a theoretical fear, and if the location is not revealed, searchers will search all over Yellowstone. In other words, more things could be damaged because people are going to continue to look. Also, archaeological dig site must have an act of Congress. This is a treasure hunting site, not an archaeological site. All solves of all searchers is an overreach by the government, and this is not a part of the probate case. And then the judge's response was the motion does not say in other words, the judge kind of corrected him and said it doesn't have to be irreparable harm. The arguments he is making is to prevent a protective order. Well, see, no, I agree. I disagree with that. The judge was ruling on the government's motion to intervene, not a protective order.
But he turned to McCracken and said,
"Oh, okay.
You're making the wrong argument."
Oh, gotcha. Right.
And I'm going to give you a little leeway since you're pro se. Do you want to make a different argument? Because you're making the reason why there shouldn't be a protective order. I have a motion to intervene in front of me. Do you want to? Right. He kind of gave him the chance, and I've heard they give pro ses a lot of. He basically said, "Let me give you another bite at the apple because you're doing it wrong." And I don't think McCracken understood, and I didn't fully understand it because I'm not a lawyer either. But now I understand.
I thought he was talking about when McCracken was saying there are going to be more people. Now, what you do in government, when you intervene, there's going to be more people. There's going to be more interest. And so that was shooting himself in the foot with his argument of saying nobody's going to wreck it. Here he is saying tons of people are now going to come. That's how I understood it.
That's how I understood it too. In other words, he's like, you're making the arguments, the government's argument for that if we don't get the location, more people are going to go to Yellowstone and harm it. Well, then you're making the government's
Okay, interesting.
But regardless, oh, and then Kim Bell had a chance to talk and said jurisdiction. If it wasn't Jack being brought to a deposition in the probate court, there would not be a need. There would not need to be a motion to intervene. Not the treasure, but the intellectual property isn't the issue either. It's the location.
It's the real property. I should not use intellectual. It's real property. Yeah.
The government is only concerned with the location, with the real property of the location. Why is the specific location relevant to McCracken's case? Yeah, I think Carl and her brought that up of why does he need to know the location in order to prove for a probate case? Though there are federal remedies, these are after the damage is done and not only trash is being left behind. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I missed one thing. Yeah. With Sommer, I do remember him also saying, and McCracken is already putting our evidence and discovery out. I didn't put that in here. I do remember that part.
Right.
He made that.
McCracken intends to release everything. So if Jack does give it out, he's going to release it publicly. Yeah.
Right.
Anything on that, Goldilocks?
No, I was just thinking about the fraud. Like they're both saying it's not that important, the location, but I guess it kind of is if we're talking about a fraud case, right? I mean, McCracken
and
saying,
that's the like fraud should not be in probate court either. So that's where I'm a little hazy in the legal technical sense of how this could be thrown out just based on that. But anyway, I had the same questions. Like, okay, so you hear fraud and okay.
All right. And then the judge said jurisdiction. They should have gotten a federal protective order. This is a local state probate case. The key question is this deposition needed for resolution of the case? Yes, it is. It is not efficient or timely at this point. I think his biggest point is it would cause undue delay, and he didn't want to delay the probate case. And he denies the motion to the government to intervene. Okay.
So the one thing that I really want to be particular about, this is not McCracken 1 today. I think there's a lot of support of searchers, and the support is the government was not able to censor all searchers in wherever they've searched, let alone Jack. That's what won today. I'm not going to put my opinion in on, actually I have put in and he told me he was going to sue me and now we're okay. But I'll just say in general, I'm not supporting the notion in any way, shape, or form that Forrest is alive and all of those things. I am supporting, and it's unfortunate that the only way to get through to that was through McCracken. I am supporting the government not being able to censor, just in general. The government is not a big thing in my mind. That's what I'm against. I am for the family and against the government intervening on this particular case. So,
and he didn't even. There is no censoring even of the specific location. You know, he didn't even put limits on it. Like, you know, so.
Obscure Oddman
Okay.
says, where's Toby to comment on the location being in the park? Well, Toby's going to go live tonight on his YouTube channel, and he will give his explanation of what he saw and how he feels about it tonight.
And remember, do you remember Toby said government's going to win, and I said McCracken's
Right.
going to. It
That's
is
true.
shocking to me still because he's a pro se little guy. That's the government that has the best lawyers, and this is going to sound terrible. I think McCracken worked against himself with the judge, but Kim didn't even prepare. She didn't. I think
She babbled. She went on and on.
I think McCracken out lawyered today, which is shocking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And that's our government talking, right?
Right.
And she mentioned the poem.
And yeah, the McCracken's going to lose his case. Ultimately, he's definitely going to lose. The guy, I don't even understand his case, but all we're commenting on is the specific idea of Jack disclosing the location in a deposition, and that the government filed a motion to intervene. And through that, we learned that Jack and Forrest met with the government in August of 2020. The deputy the park ranger of Yellowstone National Park. Well, that means, in our opinion, it was located inside Yellowstone National Park. That's why they met with that specific individual. And now, in this hearing that happened earlier this morning, the attorney for the estate of Forrest Fenn's estate said in the national park we're talking about, and used the term the national park. So,
yeah, and I think if they were to say we're hypothetically talking about land under the interior, but it's not the national park, I'd be with you. At this point, I don't think they're playing that game. I don't think they can. It's super in a national park, but really it's another law under another type of land. I don't even see that as probable, possible. Forrest is still alive before that's the case, in my opinion. But there is a couple more sides. There's two more sides, but go ahead.
I think it's important to mention that, and I said this to somebody online today, that Carl only knows what he knows, right? I mean, do some of us believe maybe Forrest didn't tell Carl? I don't know. I kind of think it's a possibility.
I don't believe that.
I think Forrest told Carl. I don't think Forrest told Zoe. And Zoe was the executor. I think, this is my guess, Shiloh knows more than Zoe, but Shiloh was not deposed and Zoe was. The time has passed to schedule those depositions. I do think Zoe didn't know, and I think just because of the joint defense agreement, because anything they said, it was under the joint defense agreement. That's my guess. But Forrest didn't like lawyers, so.
Yeah, but I don't know, because I still think that, Carl knows what he knows, and we don't know what Forrest and Jack said to the government, basically.
Right. We don't know what was said in that Zoom meeting. That's
what we said. We don't know what they agreed on. I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracist, but honestly, we don't know what they talked about. So
McCracken's case has lasted longer than the Copper Dan hunt, so you have to give him that. Nice factor, Jack. Isn't the Copper Factor on tonight? I think it is.
So Toby's going to go over the transcript, and then Copper Dan and Packer Jack are going to go on after that, giving their opinion. But I have two more slides, I believe. Can you bring those up?
And I will just give my 2 cents, and that is, of course, Carl Sommer knows, because Forrest needed to figure out what kind of legal trouble. In order for Carl to defend Forrest and his estate, he had to know the solution. He had to know what exactly is going on here. You know what I mean? It's his attorney. It's attorney-client privilege. So, in my opinion, of course, he told him exactly where it was. But that's the reason he can defend the way he needs to. That's the reason Carl knows about the Super Act and that they shouldn't give the location and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but defense attorneys don't always know everything either. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. You're right. We don't know for a fact. That's true. Key highlights, summary. The 2006 found was an error, and probably Carl Sumner needs to come out and correct that. I don't know how he does that. I don't know if he can correct the record or not, the official record, but he should probably correct that. He used the term national park. It was, in fact, found in a national park. The Supra law that we talked about maybe a year ago, K-Pro, was it? When we were guessing that, hey, there's this law that changed, and this is why Jack won't give the location. That's only applies to national parks. Is that correct? The resource unit is within national parks. It was found in the park. That was Carl's exact words, the park. And in Wyoming, which park is the park? Is it Yellowstone is the biggest and oldest park?
Largest one.
He says the park. One. They're talking about Yellowstone. In Wyoming, we know that. McCracken believes Forrest Jack's story. It was found at 9 Mile Hole. I don't think McCracken believes it, but he believes they're saying it. Is that what you meant, K-Pro?
sorry. Well, there's two interpretations. I talked to several people that were in the hearing, and some of them said, no, he said where Jack is saying. That's not what I had in my notes. So I put kind of both, and we'll be able to know once we see the actual transcript.
Okay. And the biggest news, the government was denied their motion to intervene. Now, does that mean they cannot come back with another motion to intervene for a different reason? I don't know that answer.
Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. But here is what I understand as the different options. I know everybody was jumping up and down and celebrating. Though there is a very short celebration that we can say that the government did not win the intervention or the motion to intervene. I don't like to use the word intervention. There are more options that are happening, I believe, as we speak. So if right now, I don't even know if this one's possible, and I've not been able to confirm with anybody, the state could do a motion to dismiss. That's what someone told me, but I don't actually believe they can, because I think they've just waived their right to mediation. So they are going to hearing. So the estate, I don't think, could do anything at this point, except for say, we still agree, even though there's not a motion to intervene. We're not asking those questions. It's up to Jack and McCracken and the government to knock out the rest. We've done our due care, but they're kind of out of it. I don't think they can do the motion to dismiss. I think they could have before now. So the government can do a motion for a protective order in the federal government, an expedited one that they slap right now. Tomorrow. That is.
Oh.
Yeah, it broke up a little bit. You turned sideways for some reason. We did get a super chat. Well, K-Pro's having some issues, so I'll just read this. Kiwi Road says, treasure trove law for a cache found on private property goes to the finder. I think in a national park that does not apply, and also we don't know if Forrest Fenn's treasure is under the treasure trove law. I mean, I don't think we've ever established that. The GPS coordinates are shared on Amazon and YouTube for the Padre Mine, the lost Padre Mine. We know Kiwi's all about that. So thank you for the super chat. So what do you think of the ruling, Goldilocks? Did it go the way you thought it was going to, or did it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think the government was going to win on this one. Oh, she's mad.
Yeah. I don't think any of us, it just, what they were trying to do just seemed overreaching and not jurisdiction. They did not have the proper jurisdiction. So.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay. So I don't believe the estate can do much, but let's talk about now what so the government could file that federal order and then give it to the judge, but I think that's time barred. So I don't know if there is something they can do there. But let's really talk about what Jack can do, because Jack's between a rock and a hard place. He's been deposed, kind of, but when he gets deposed, does he have to answer or not?
A lot of people on Facebook, does this mean Jack has to answer?
Up the PowerPoint, please.
A lot of people on Facebook were asking, does this mean that Jack has to answer the question when he's deposed and Jamie and McCracken asks him, where did you find it? And it does not. All it means is the government is not allowed to intervene in this probate case. Jack could still plead the fifth, in my opinion, and Jack does not have to answer, I don't think.
Yeah, so there's two things Jack can do. Jack can actually file an appeal, and I don't know the name of the motion. Someone gave it to me. I haven't been able to check it. He can file a motion to say, for these reasons, it's my intellectual property, or for whatever reason, I don't want to answer this. I have a deal with the Department of Justice. Whatever that reason is, he can file a motion on his behalf, from what I understand, or he can plead the fifth. And here's why. Now you can put that down, because I needed to make sense of it in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out, right?
Well, the reason that you can plead the fifth, there's a very specific reason. You can plead the fifth when you are incriminating yourself in breaking the law. He broke the law when he did not turn that treasure chest into the superintendent. So because of that, I believe, or some people have told me, he could plead the fifth. Mm-hmm. Now, does he care? Does he want to just have it out? Could the government come back? This is why I heard he waited to sell the treasure chest, because this needs to be determined. Because if he loses it in this process, well, he wasn't as concerned about that last fall when he was trying to sell it. He is now.
Jack's not going to lose anything, in my opinion.
And didn't McCracken say once that Jack doesn't even have to show up necessarily? I mean, has Jack?
So Jack wasn't officially served, and so since he wasn't, Carl's office, Summers gave it to Tom's office, and they like agreed to have him there. So under the joint defense agreement, there was some question of whether he had to be technically served. He should have been technically served. Since he wasn't, could Jack just not show up and not be under any? That could happen. Now, if that doesn't, if something comes up, is that a technicality that'll just delay everything, or you actually have to serve him and find him and all of that? So that was my other little bubble on the PowerPoint. There could be a technicality of Jack saying, I was never served. Mm-hmm. So now here's the other thing that came up. McCracken just posted on his website, I have 8 days until the deposition. The deposition was supposed to be Friday. There was a reschedule filed in the system today. I have not had a chance to work my magic to get it. Has it been delayed another week?
Probably.
I don't know. That I would say probably as well. He needs more than 2 days to prepare.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is, everybody. The government's motion to intervene. Now, if that motion would have been granted, Jack would never have been able to to disclose the location.
Oh, he could. He would just be held under the super.
Well, no, I think the government would have prevented him from testifying. That's what they're trying to do right now. The government's motion to intervene has been denied. It's up to Jack if he wants to come to the deposition and if he wants to disclose the location. He has his own reasons for doing either one of those things. So we'll see. Right. We'll see how it plays out. But I do think this legal wrangling, this legal court case does show that the treasure chest was in fact in a national park. And yes, we know what that means. And Forrest lied and blah, blah, blah. We can go over all those statements by Forrest, but he did what he did.
Can he plead the fifth since he's already confessed to Yellowstone, DOJ, DUI, Trey asks? I believe so, because he brokered a deal. And I believe the deal he made with them is to keep his mouth shut and gag order. He is doing that via avenues. But be assured right now, something's going to happen in the next either 2 days or week. I don't believe Jack's just going to roll in now. The government's just going to say, oh, well, we tried. Jack's going to roll in and say, found it in 9 Mile Hole. The Homer Brown was that. We're in a multi-step process right now.
One thing I found interesting is the government saying they don't know anything about the hunt. They don't know what's going on. They just found out about all this beginning of April. So you would think if Jack found it in the park, I don't know. I just think it's one strike against the park, in my opinion. Somebody would have said something by now, I would think.
Yeah, I almost feel like she was trying to say, we never thought anything would get this far, so we haven't even been watching. But then that makes them neglectful. So yeah, that's why I think they probably weren't watching it, but I don't know.
Well, I wonder after the Zoom of August 2020, did the Department of Interior not file some kind of whatever federal thing, protection order, injunction, whatever you call it? Back then to just say, yeah, this can never come out. Jack and Forrest, you both can never be compelled.
But there would have been a record on that.
But the record would have been you can't release it. I mean, you think that would have given it away, which is why they didn't want to do it?
It would have given away that it was a part of the Department of Interior land, and I don't think they wanted to go that far.
No. All right, we'll see how it plays out.
Well, John, you're saying the park has zero jurisdiction except for the park. Okay. The court documents. I'm going to go by the court documents. I don't know what to say.
So, John, if the treasure chest was found in Yellowstone National Park, they have 100% jurisdiction. I'm not sure what he means by the park has zero jurisdiction. In the probate case, well, you might be right. That's probably why the motion got denied.
Yes.
Right.
If you're saying that, I'm with you, Joe.
Yeah, in the probate case. Packer Jack, thoughts and prayers to K-Pro and your entire family on the passing of her father. Peace be with you during this difficult time. Thank you, Packer Jack. Yeah.
Thank you.
For anybody that doesn't know, K-Pro did lose her father last night, and that's something we're dealing with and getting through, as we all will have to and probably have at some point.
And I will say, Mike was really, really smart. He's like, I'm here if you need me. Oh, by the way, we really need you for Nick Xavier Zoom. Yeah. And like 6 hours later, it really helped me. Like,
take your mind off things.
And it was really sad because I got the notification at like a certain time, and 4 minutes later, another family member called, and then 5 minutes later, a family member called, I thought, and it was the guys on Xavier, and I wasn't able to even breathe yet. And they're like, we're so. I'm like, oh. So I apologize to those guys that called me that I was I was such a mess.
Treasure Hunt Amusement Park never
Thank you
gets
for
shut down. Doesn't matter what the circumstance.
But thank you for throwing me into the park because I was sitting there alone and
Yeah.
I just need to get around filming.
So I will remind everybody that Toby will be going live tonight to give his thoughts. You guys can ask him what he thinks. Maybe he will now think it was in the park after this hearing this morning. We'll find out. And also the Copper Factory will be on tonight as well. I hope Ranger Jack makes an appearance. I think we all want to know what he thinks about the government's motion.
There's going to be more. That's the only thing I can tell you. And I think because of what happened with my dad last night, I just thought, what is Zoe going through right now? Like, this is us trying to get closure, but this had to be hard for the family either way. I don't know if I don't even think Zoe cares at this point. She just wants it done. So knowing that this now has a possibility of continuing after 2 years, my heart goes out to them, and I'm sorry that I hope no one thinks that any of us searchers are in support of a lawsuit that's going to be a very odd case in itself. But this was a different issue, and if it made them even a little bit tension-filled or stressed, I'm very sorry. And our prayers are always with you.
For them just not be able to get the probate settled and get on with their lives has got to be horrible for them. Yeah, I hope Jack is deposed. And I hope in that deposition he gives the location, and the next day the trial's thrown out. And the next day it's done. It's over with. It gets thrown out, and we can all move on with our lives. Not just the family, all of us, everybody, all the searchers. You can like it or not like it, but you can discuss it for a little while. But eventually you just have to say, well, that was it, and we'll move on to the next treasure hunt. So,
yeah. So we will not read every piece because Toby is going to do that. We did that last week. And so I kind of like that Toby's going to take that torch because that's great. I like the discussion more than reading legal. I'm not a legal person. I don't play one on YouTube, but I've been trying just because there was nobody. So this is great. When we do have documents, we do want to start with those just because everybody interprets things differently. So there's still a few things up in the air, but National Park, there's no question. The Supra is a national park only, and the lawyer said national park.
And if you know Forrest and you've read The Thrill of the Chase, what national park do you think it was in, Kate?
Yeah, In Love with Yellowstone. I think that's an entire town. Some people say that's too obvious. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I do have to say, after this is done, once we have confirmed 9 Mile Hole and the location and the 9 clues, let's go back to Forrest. Was it really that difficult? Forrest, did it really get you to, like, as a treasure hunt originator, we'll give him a grade, and it's not going to be an A for me. He's not getting an A.
What did Forrest say? When you find out, you'll say, why didn't I think of that? Right? Simplest explanation is usually, may not be the most legal explanation, but simplest explanation is usually the correct one. Thank you, Goldilocks, for coming on. We appreciate it. We know you will continue to post the updates on Thor, which we appreciate. Hintofriches.com, if anybody doesn't know what that is. And Toby, tonight, messages and methods. I keep getting their name backward. Messages and methods, right? Is it methods and messages?
Thank you, Dizzy, for saying that. I know, actually, there's a couple people and some people I've been very, very, very shocked to hear from that I thought hated my inner soul and would be happy with tragedies of life. But they were very, very nice to me and said, I know I hate you, but that's when one of them started.
Right.
With. And I thought, and then it was very, very nice. But I thought, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll be okay. I need to get home to my family. Where I
don't hate us. Hate 9 Mile Hole. Okay. But don't hate Goldilocks either. She's just a messenger. Again, tomorrow we will go live from the Treasure Hunt Amusement Park with the Beacon Star. Monday we are back. Forrest Fenn Treasure Found. If there are any updates between now and then, we will discuss. And I think what we probably need to do is just go back and look at everything Forrest said over the years and how does that apply to 9 Mile Hole. I know one thing he said is how deep is a hole. Kind of a wink and a hint, I guess, maybe. But there it is. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks all.
Bye.